This podcast is dedicated to the dynamic youth of today who are breaking boundaries, challenging norms, and redefining what it means to be a force for positive change in the world. In every episode, we will delve into the narratives, experiences, and wisdom of exceptional individuals who are both empowering and inspiring young people, and young individuals who are making significant strides across a range of fields, including technology, the arts, activism, and entrepreneurship. We believe that the future is in the hands of our generation, and together we'll explore ideas, innovations, and inspirations that are shaping a brighter tomorrow. So, whether you're a trailblazer yourself, change makers, or simply looking for a dose of motivation, you're in the right place. Find Your Voice is not just a podcast, it's a movement. Let's dream big, think bold, and act now. Get ready to be inspired because the future starts now. Welcome to Find Your Voice. Everyone has dreams. If you guys have dreams and want to be change makers, please join the FYV network. Scan the QR code presented on the screen to join the network. My name's Elijah. Welcome to the Find Your Voice podcast.
Thank you.
This is episode 4, Social Justice. You tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Abby and I've worked at Southend YMCA for nearly 5 years. I arrived at the YMCA as an undergraduate degree student studying youth and community work. I'm currently studying for a master's degree in social policy, which is about looking at legislation and governance and how to improve society as a whole. And this course includes elements of social justice, which is really important to my job.
All right. How would you define social justice, especially concerning young individuals?
Social justice basically implies a fair and mutual obligation in a society where everyone is responsible for the welfare of everyone else, including oneself. It means everyone is free and has an equal chance to succeed. Social justice regarding young people seeks to provide youth with access and means to, controlling their own lives and focusing on each person's kind of perception of where they want to get to and their motivation, their competence, and control relating specifically to kind of social and political issues.
Okay. How does a strong passion for social justice play a pivotal role in sparking transformation and nurturing compassion among young individuals and their communities?
I think a strong passion for social justice plays a pivotal role in sparking transformation, as young people are more likely to engage in activities that benefit themselves and their communities. Social justice promotes fairness and equality, and demonstrating these characteristics when working with young people can foster similar outcomes in the future.
What are common challenges or obstacles young individuals may face when prioritising well-being, and what strategies can be employed to overcome them?
I think, we're all living in quite difficult times.
Yeah.
There's the war, climate change, mental health, cost of living, housing crisis, and, a political unrest are all present challenges that young people may face.
So a lot going on.
Yeah, loads going on at the moment. And it's all in the news and, you can't get away from it and it's there all the time. And I think in today's society, information is everywhere and can be overwhelming. So sometimes actually switching off and focusing on what makes you happy is actually essential instead of worrying about things outside our control.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Could you share a specific example or story of a time when you've witnessed passion for social justice lead to a significant positive change in the young community or individual?
Yeah, certainly. One young person I've worked with recently attended their first Pride event, found that they had a real passion for kind of LGBTQIA rights. They not only felt seen, but they felt like they met other like-minded young people who they felt a connection with. This improved not only the young person's well-being, but enabled them to kind of find their voice and to speak up. I think, constant exposure to life has kind of primed young people to deal with hardships more proactively. And a lot of activism nowadays in young people is actually driven by kind of frustration at the status quo, and they want change.
Yeah, like civil unrest.
Yeah, kind of, but yeah.
All right. What would you say are like some common challenges or obstacles young individuals may face when trying to champion social justice, and how could they overcome them?
I think a lot of young people feel that the issues that affect them cannot be changed, and that they're stuck. I think they think that nothing will make a difference, and whatever they do, nothing will change, nothing will get better, and that they're only kind of one person and they can't change things. But change is possible. And I know sort of young people that like to go out and protest. I know there's been kind of restrictions that the government have put in place for being socially active. But staying organised and dedicated to the cause will help overcome this. Yeah. But I do think a lot of people really struggle and say, nothing's ever going to change, nothing's ever going to get better. But it can, and it will.
Like their voices just aren't heard.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel like that. But when you get a group of young people all saying that, then, you
block them out.
Well, yeah, but you can kind of motivate them to work together to improve things, because improvement can happen. It just takes work.
Yeah. Okay. How can we empower young individuals to become advocates for social justice in their communities, and what sort of support systems are essential for their success?
I think empowering young people to become advocates for social justice is really important. Whether it's educating oneself or others, advocating for legislation, creating public awareness campaigns, or even just kind of looking around you and collating kind of research on what's going on for you can be really beneficial, because if you then present this to the people in charge, it can't be ignored.
Yeah.
So I think young people are absolutely vital in this kind of level of change. Young people can raise money, write letters to companies or government, and engage in community service or get the local press involved. There are lots of ways to be active, but I think, as I said earlier, a lot of people feel that they can't make change. So encouraging young people and motivate them to say, actually, you can make a difference is really important. Just
getting them to take that little leap, so it's sort of their foot's in the door.
Yeah, definitely. And once you get that leap, and once you get that kind of motivation, you think, actually, no, I can do this. I can be a change maker, and I can make life better for myself and for others.
Yeah, I think a lot of young people, they don't realise, like, you can write a letter to your local MP, and a lot of them will read it.
Yeah, definitely.
It just doesn't seem like an accessible thing. So
no, and people often, I think, when people don't know how to go about it, they will sit there and go, this isn't right, this isn't right, this isn't right. And I'm like, okay, but how can we change that? How can we make it better? Young people might say, my universal credit isn't enough. Okay, I get that, I hear you. But how are we going to change that? How are we going to get the government to listen and say, actually, no, universal credit isn't enough?
Yeah.
And that's just one example of kind of encouraging young people to kind of make a difference for themselves.
Well, I think it can sort of be like misunderstood as maybe just complaining or whining when someone's just saying, they're saying there's this issue, but they're not giving a solution.
Yeah.
So I think it needs to be more constructive when they're putting forth something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Being constructive about it is, because we can all sit and complain.
Yeah.
It's quite easy, but actually kind of standing up and making a difference and saying that is really important.
Yeah. How important is it to take an inclusive and intersectional approach to social justice work, especially when working with young communities?
I think that social justice is all about diversity and inclusivity. You've had many kind of incidences in history that have proved that social justice is fully inclusive. I think also some young people that feel different from their peers feel kind of isolated. And I think being kind of intersectional about social justice acknowledges that young people have multiple aspects of their identity, not just, what they say or their name or their age, but young people are so diverse from each other that I think that needs to be championed and listened to.
Yeah.
They bring all these differences together. So I think working with young communities to bring them together collectively is really important. You know, you have young people who go to different schools or are into different stuff, and I think that all kind of blends into to present a better picture. I think diversity helps people from lots of backgrounds acknowledge and respect others, you know, because if you grow up only spending time with the people that are similar to you, that kind of narrows your worldview. Whereas I think if you grow up meeting people that are completely different to you, it really kind of expands your mind about other people.
Well, I think if you've sort of grown up in a diverse atmosphere, it can almost encourage you to be more curious rather than judgmental.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you're friends with like some of the goth kids and then bit of everyone from the community, when you see someone dressed like that, you're like, oh, that's quite cool. Like, where'd you get that from? Rather than, oh, what are you wearing?
Yeah, it fosters conversation and inquisitivity and inquisitiveness.
Yeah.
Wow, now I can't say stuff.
Tongue twisters.
But I think, yeah, it fosters people to be curious about others. And I think, you know, curiosity is definitely kind of a key for learning. And learning can only be positive.
100%, yeah. How can we ensure that the impact of social justice-driven change is sustainable and continues to benefit young communities in the long run?
I think that long-term change takes commitment and hard work. And sometimes that puts people off, but it is achievable. At a practical level, sustainable impact on health and well-being means that interventions should contain kind of interacting actions such as, you know, workforce training, targeted individual support, and systemic change. And having multiple outcomes can both increase individual protective mechanisms and reduce systemic risk factors. So I think social justice, the impact of it needs to be sustainable. And I think that should be built in when considering it, because one kind of flash in the pan won't prove to be long term. One simple act in isolation won't necessarily change everything, but it's all these acts together that will ensure kind of a more sustainable approach.
How can technology and innovative approaches be utilised to promote social justice among young individuals and communities?
I think historically, technology wasn't really a factor in social justice. But in recent years, technology and innovative approaches have been utilised massively in social justice. You know, you've had campaigns such as Black Lives Matter, This Girl Can, Stop Funding Hate, and even things like Movember, you know, all kind of, you know, hashtag on Instagram, and they generate, you know, views and likes, and this kind of method of promoting social justice is really effective because it's global. It's not just kind of a small community fighting for change. It's a global community fighting for change, and it's all over the world. So I think technology actually has changed how we approach social justice. And while there are lots of negatives about, you know, being online and the internet, I think social justice is one of those areas where technology has benefited it. Yeah.
Well, I remember like the Extinction Rebellion protest, they had a lot of XR flags with like the X and the R.
Yeah.
But they were quite social media driven as well. Like that's how they organised a lot of their events.
Yeah, definitely.
So I definitely understand what you mean.
I think one of the most important factors of social justice is being organised, because if you're not kind of collectively working for it together, it doesn't always have the right effect. So, you know, things like XR, things like Black Lives Matter, they all kind of, they have definitely benefited from kind of likes and views, and more people get involved in it, which is also the benefit of technology, is that it's more accessible to people. I think technology it can be really innovative with regard to social justice.
Yeah, well, it can go from like being a small sort of town thing to becoming an international thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Protesting all over the world.
Even stuff with social justice like good deeds you see online, and they can absolutely go viral. But yeah, no, I do think that kind of hashtags and stuff, it can go absolutely viral for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Obviously, things that go viral for the wrong reasons, but even small good deeds, you know, that are seen, they can also perpetuate and kind of permeate kind of every area.
Yeah.
Whereas historically, people who fought for social justice, they didn't have technology, so they had to find different ways of being organised.
Like the suffragettes.
Yeah, definitely. They did not have social media,
No.
right? They created an amazing driving force to effect change and get women the vote, but they didn't have technology. I mean, I can't imagine now what it must be like not having technology to kind of, you know, fight for social justice. But they still did it. It can be done without technology, but I think technology just brings it to the next level, the next kind of phase.
Well, I think because what they did was, it was so controversial, like going outside Parliament, chaining yourself up. They managed to get in the newspaper a lot, and people were reading it and thinking, yeah, you know what, go on.
Yeah, massively.
And it was like a snowballing effect almost.
Yeah, and
bigger and bigger.
Newspapers at the time, they were the Facebook or the you know, the Snapchat, they were the kind of social media at the time, but the media getting things out there and getting the word out there really helped them kind of fight for that cause. So I think, yeah, technology can be used really positively.
Yeah. What are your hopes and aspirations for the future of social justice work, especially in creating more compassionate and equitable young communities?
I think my hopes and aspirations for the future of social justice work are that young people will understand the importance of fighting for change and being the difference that they want to see in the world. It's quite easy to complain and sit back and not do anything, and it is often difficult to fight for what is right. But I do hope that more and more young people get involved in social justice work. Yeah. I mean, there are plenty of young people out there doing it. You know, you've got kind of Greta Thunberg, you've got, you know, lots of Malala Yousafzai kind of fighting for positive change. But I think young people really have a need, a voice. And I really, really hope that they continue to be active.
Yeah.
Because otherwise there won't be any change. The world's not perfect. And as long as there is injustice and young people with a passion for positive change, I think social justice work will continue.
Yeah, you said Greta Thunberg. I think she's great, actually.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She went into a room full of politicians and scolded them like children.
Yeah.
How dare you?
She took a year off school to fight,
yeah.
you know, for climate change. She has almost, you know, she's definitely brought the issue of climate change to more and more people. And also the fact that she's young. You know, it's not, you know, obviously you've got kind of the likes of David Attenborough explaining about climate change, but, you know, Greta Thunberg brought this to a whole new generation of people, right?
Yeah.
And she's definitely an example of how young people can absolutely be at the forefront of change.
Yeah.
No,
what can listeners do to support or get involved in initiatives that are using social justice to drive positive change in young communities?
I think there are plenty of initiatives out there to get involved in, you know, from kind of global issues such as global warming and kind of wars in other countries to national issues of, say, housing and universal credit not being enough and stuff like that, to even local issues around conservation and services for young people. Finding like-minded people is always beneficial to advancing social justice. And again, these can be local, national or global, from political parties to national action groups to local communities.
Yeah.
You know, social justice kind of permeates every level, and there's so many opportunities out there for young people. And I really hope that young people kind of go and search for these opportunities, because they are out there.
Yeah, I think touching on like the universal credit, there is definitely sort of a discrimination for people's ages, because I think it's 25. If you're over the age of 25, you get like £100 more.
Yep.
But that shouldn't matter on your age. Like if you're a young person in a youth hostel living on your own, you've still got to pay the same things.
Yeah.
So why should they struggle more just because of their age?
I know, right? There's definitely an unfairness about universal credit. Even in sort of the pandemic, they raised it by £20 a week for everybody because of the pandemic and what was going on at the time, and then they took that away again. And I think there are so many people that are not necessarily able to work.
Well, they're vulnerable as well.
Yeah.
They struggle. They've come from potentially like a broken home. They've got things that they're trying to do. They're trying to heal, and it's adding like sort of the fact they've got to think about whether or not they're going to have a meal in their stomach day to day, and they might have to go to a food bank or something like that. It's not helping.
No, or whether they have to put the heating on or not. But, you know, these issues of heating or eating are becoming all too commonplace. And I think, you know, wouldn't it be wonderful if everybody on Universal Credit stood up and said, oh, actually, this isn't working for anyone.
Yeah.
We need to change this. That would be amazing.
Definitely.
Or young people in, you know, transitional housing or supported accommodation saying, this is working great, but this is something the government needs to implement to help us. I think that would be amazing.
It's sort of trying to prepare them to become like a functional member of society.
Definitely.
If you can't sort of hold a job for whatever reason, if they've got to worry about what they're eating that night, how are they going to sort of rehabilitate themselves to become sort of get themselves into a better headspace so they can work, or even if it's just get a part-time job.
Yeah.
I think the reason they do it is obviously to try and push people to start working, but that doesn't work for everyone. Sometimes a lot of them actually just get more depressed, stop going out, and they recede, if anything.
Yeah, and I think definitely in the work I do, I kind of encourage young people to work, because actually having something productive to go to every day kind of promotes a routine and can improve mental health. But also we do realise that some young people are just not quite ready and need more support to prepare them to get ready.
I think like people with learning difficulties, like if you've got ADHD or autism or something like that, some of them, they do just have to stay in education for a bit longer, because what's the point in the beginning, them starting work at like 18 or 19 when they could have gone to college for a little bit longer, got something under their belt, like a qualification, even if it is just like doing plumbing or being an electrician. That's something that they can use everywhere, rather than sort of something that's less transferable, like working in Tesco's or Aldi.
Yeah, definitely. And it wouldn't be wonderful if, you know, people in that circumstance kind of wrote to their MP and said, you know, this is something you need to look at, or clubbed together and, you know, did some kind of research and then present it to their MP and said, look, this is what we need, this is what we're not getting, you know, this is the proof, give us some support.
I think some young people don't realise it's not like in control of like the job centre or the housing, so they'll be quite angry at staff, or maybe their work coach at the job centre, but it's sort of out of their control. So I think they need to be pointed in the right direction and know who they're meant to talk to, like as you said, writing to an MP.
Yeah, I think some young people kind of they might get very frustrated and kick out the people who are nearest to them or working closely with them, but actually some of the issues that they're frustrated with are kind of government level decisions that professionals are just kind of implementing. So the government will say, we need you to do this, and a professional might go, okay, so this is what I need to implement because the government have given this directive. But who's to say whether it's the right directive? Who's to say whether it's the wrong directive? You know, who's to say whether, you know, change would make, you know, those rules and regulations better? Definitely. You know, there's lots of work that can be done. And I think, some young people do kind of direct their frustration, not necessarily at the people who have made the decisions or, you know, who need to, you know, receive that frustration. But I think social justice is so important in that respect. I think so many more young people would be great if they just felt that they could be listened to by someone who isn't necessarily, you know, a professional, but, you know, really higher up stuff.
Yeah. Well, it can be really good for your like self-confidence, knowing that you've got a voice.
Definitely, and feeling listened to as well. You know, lots of young people are they go to Parliament, they visit MPs, and they do feel like they're listened to. But there are thousands of young people that feel like their voice won't make a difference. And guys, if you're listening, your voice is so important. And I really think you've got an opportunity to use it. So if you're sitting at home listening to this and thinking, like, nothing I do or say will make a difference, I really, really want you to know that it will and it can.
That's a really good message. Yeah.
It's true.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add or share with our audience?
I don't think so. I just think, guys, yeah, definitely. If you're listening, just be the difference you want to see in the world. Be the change that you want to see. If you've got a voice and you can use it, just keep going.
That's a really good message.
Because life can get better and things can change.
Yeah, wicked. Well, thanks for coming on today, Abby.
No worries. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you.